So after Hikari recruits Kashimo into the anti-Sukuna alliance, the broomstick girl pulls up to let him know that there's been a change of plans with the rules that they're trying to make. Now they don't have to try and add a rule for communications between colonies because now Maki can pass through the barriers. Hikari's like, wait, why the fuck can Maki do that? And she tells him that it's because Maki is now a monster. After the whole clan massacre and the awakening from Mai's death, Maki's cursed energy has dropped to absolute zero, increasing the strength of her heavenly restriction, making her a shit ton stronger than she was before. She's somewhere in the culling games with Noritoshi, a guy that used to look like this, but he got a haircut. They're just getting points and talking about their plans for the next colony when this giant worm spirit just appears out of nowhere. And they're looking at it, but they're confused because it looks like a cursed spirit, but it feels differently. And as they're looking at it, it just blitzes right at them. Like Maki was standing right next to him, and now she's not. It like blasted into her and carried her away, slammed her into this wall. Noritoshi's like, that shit fast as fuck, I couldn't see anything. So Maki tries to punch it while it's pinning her, but it just disappears and appears again and punches her into the wall again. She says it's just too fast. The worm tries to punch her again, but she weaves it. But as she weaves away, it like uses its body to pin her up against the wall again. And this is when it reveals itself to be Naoya, back from the dead as a vengeful spirit. So they're about to kick off round 2 of their family dispute. Naoya came back from the dead as a curse. Apparently going out like this in embarrassing fashion, it just didn't sit right with his spirit. Maki explains that because she has no cursed energy and she just punched him to death, it allowed him to come back as a vengeful spirit. But if she had used a cursed tool, then he wouldn't have been able to do this. He's got this hideous new form and has her pinned up against the wall. Now obviously his plans are to get revenge and kill her like she killed him. Noritoshi shoots an arrow from Jump Street and it allows her to get away from him pinning her. He just puts a switch on his bow. Naoya is able to evade every one of them. Maki used him as a distraction, ran up on Naoya, grabbed him, threw him up in the air, then used her cursed tool to slice through his body. For some reason, he starts like flying higher into the air. Instead of killing him, it's looking like that slice that Maki made is causing him to transform. They quickly realize he's turning into a cursed womb and is about to power up. So Noritoshi uses his piercing blood to try and stop him. And he shoots straight through the womb to stop him from digivolving. By then he had already evolved, and this is what he looks like now. They look at him for about a second before he blitzes up on Noritoshi. Maki yells at him to get out the way, but Naoya knocks him clean across the map. There he go hating again, calling Maki trash. Now he got like a bunch of tentacles that he can work with. Noritoshi does end up surviving though. He used his blood as a shield from the impact, but as soon as he stands up, Naoya tries to blitz him again. As you can see, Maki's following up too. Slides in the way and deflects his attack. As she does that, Noritoshi binds him with blood. Maki goes to attack, but he just spins hella fast and breaks out of the hold. On top of Naoya's increase in power, he's still able to use the technique he had when he was alive. Panel technique that lets you freeze anything you touch in place if it doesn't follow a certain sequence. He's using that ability to freeze the air and then burst through it, causing it to shatter. And he flies off to accelerate and speed up for a powerful attack. Noritoshi and Maki start getting worried about him speeding up because he was already faster than him before he transformed. So Maki tells Noritoshi to get back and that she's going to try and handle it. Panels of him speeding up look crazy, like he's warping through space. He flies around in hella circles, building up his speed, blitzes the absolute shit out of Maki like there was nothing she could do. It's looking like Naoya is going to get his sweet revenge. So it's not looking good for Maki, and it's looking like Naoya is about to get his get back. He's just standing over her, and really Maki's just talking to stall him. But Noritoshi hits him with 2 arrows from far away. Maki kicks him off of her. Noritoshi uses a very large amount of blood to slash Naoya. Bro's confused as to how he's using that much blood, but they explain that even the blood he's using to fight with, he's cycling it back inside of his body. But it is very exhausting, and he's ready to go to such lengths because he knows that they can't afford to lose Maki because of the potential powerhouse she can become. So really, he's about to sacrifice himself so she can get away. But she's like, no, I'm fine. I just need some time and I'll heal. Just give me 5 minutes. And she tells him not to die. And he says, I'll try. And right as he says that, Naoya starts blitzing him. He forms like a grid of blood and shoots it at him, but it doesn't really look like it did anything. Naoya just says, oh, and Maki used that opportunity to disappear so that she could heal. But Noritoshi starts thinking and planning on how he can attack. As he's thinking that, Naoya just runs up on his ass and starts knocking him around like a rag doll. He accelerates into him, but Noritoshi grabs onto him and then uses his blood and spits it into the vent that he's using to fly. It's like a jet engine on his back, and he pours his blood in there to disrupt the flow of it, causing him to stall. So he stops, and Noritoshi gets flipped into the air, and he uses this opening to go for it all, a point-blank piercing blood, and it catches him clean. Like, he couldn't avoid it at all. But unfortunately, Naoya just ate that shit. He knocks him back again, but Noritoshi catches his balance and tries to counter, but he just hits him again. It's not really looking good. And as he's really about to make his last-ditch effort and possibly sacrifice himself, two random sorcerers that were just loitering in the culling games pull up. This guy is a sumo wrestler who's just looking for somebody to wrestle with, and this is a reincarnated swordsman, but he doesn't have a sword. Noritoshi's like, who are y'all? But Naoya's like, who cares? And just goes to attack him anyway. Maki slid in quick to save him because she partially recovered. But it's still partial. She hasn't fully recovered. Now, the reincarnated swordsman dude, he just keeps saying katana, katana, katana. And since they're in a stalemate situation with Naoya, she just throws him her sword. And the second he catches it, everybody, including Naoya, gets a big-ass shiver. He starts exerting this intense-ass aura, but it's not cursed energy. It's absolute lethality. So everyone can just feel how dangerous he is with a sword. So he takes a swipe at Naoya, but Naoya dodges. But the crazy thing is, he can't see Naoya. He wasn't a sorcerer, just a nameless, powerful swordsman. Then he comes back to reality for a second. He's like, wait, is this a bewitched blade? Is this a cursed weapon? But as he's like talking, Naoya goes to swing at him. But he dodges. He weaves that shit. Again, he cannot see him. And then he starts talking to Maki. Girl, there's something over there, right? Is it a spirit? And she's like, wait, you can't see it? Bro said, yeah, but if you can see everything else besides it, then isn't it the same as seeing it? And he slices Naoya all through his shit. So Nameless Swordsman number 1 is just killing shit over here. And Maki realizes that because he can see curses without cursed energy, that she has another level to get to reach where Toji was. So after Maki realizes that the Nameless Swordsman can see curses without having any cursed energy, she's like, alright, I gotta step my fucking game up. Like, he really sliced Naoya in his shit, and he could not see him at all. So while he's keeping Naoya occupied, the sumo guy asks Maki to enter his domain, like it's just a little wrestling circle. And she agrees because he's not really trying to kill her, he's just trying to fight. He gets hella excited that she agrees. So she enters in the domain, leaving Naoya and Noritoshi outside with the Nameless Swordsman. Noritoshi's like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's just like, chill, I gotta hit this training arc real quick. Figure out how she can reach a level where she can see the curses by fighting the sumo dude. So they start, and Maki charges at him, but he like finesses his way behind her. She turns around to grab him, but he ducks, grabs her arm, flips her over. I've never seen anybody get flipped like this, but okay. And he puts her on her ass. He starts asking her why she can't focus, and she explains that she actually never really had a teacher. She never considered growing stronger by relying on the help of anyone else. And on top of that, nobody really shares her situation that could help her hone her senses. So the sumo guy decides to school her and guide her in the right direction. And while they're wrestling over and over again, he's explaining that combat is like communication. Really, all of this is to get Maki to understand what people in sports call a flow state, where you're so tuned into the moment, you're like moving automatically and you can see everything. A completely freeing sensation. You hit a point where winning or losing doesn't even matter because you're just that locked into your senses. And all that's left is to just experience this with your own body. So they just sumo over and over and over again until she can finally get the sensation. And eventually she does, but I'm getting concerned because while they're doing this in the domain, Noritoshi is still outside with Naoya, and he stands no chance against them. After Maki finally beats the sumo dude, the domain opens, and everyone can tell that there's a different aura on Maki. Because of the way his domain works, they were able to wrestle over 1,000 times before even a minute went by in the outside world. She deadass just leveled up in the hyperbolic time chamber. Maki's having a Gojo moment because she just had her second awakening, like floating in the air and trolling type shit. Naoya is getting pissed off because he's flying around, crashing through buildings, and he just can't catch her. I should be faster than you. Why can't I catch you? She's just having fun weaving him with her newfound speed. Her senses have peaked to the point where everything around her is telling her how Naoya is going to attack. things that she could see that only Toji could see before her. This is her like reading the air currents or pressure around her to feel where he's at. He tries to attack her, but she just calmly rotates out of the way midair. But yeah, deadass says, "What the fuck?" And she just continues reading the air pressures around her, enjoying this new sensation. Look at that smile. Naoya tries to blitz her again. She weaves and punches the shit out his ass. That's not it. This is Jump Jutsu Kaisen. As Naoya is falling, the sumo man gets in on it and headbutts him, knocks him over to the nameless swordsman, who quickly just slices him in half. And while he's divided like this, Maki kicks off the top half and knocks it on the ground. And we get more Toji comparisons. As the top half is just laying on the ground, Naoya crawls out of that shit and for the first time uses a domain expansion called the Time Cell Moon Palace. He traps the swordsman and the sumo dude inside. He attacks them almost immediately. They're confused because at first the attack doesn't really do anything, so they decide we need to take this key moment to attack him back. They get frozen in place the very second they try to move. The domain is just an expansion of his original technique where he touches you, and if you don't move the right way, you're frozen in place. This time it's on a completely different scale because as soon as they move, their cells are out of alignment. So they're just completely frozen in place for a second. Sumo dude's like, "Damn, this is a pretty good domain." And he's like, "Yeah, I know, right?" And Naoya realizes that Maki's missing, like he can't see her at all, and he was around the same spot they were when he expanded the domain. Even if she has no cursed energy, he should still be able to know where she is in the domain. As he's thinking this, the nameless swordsman looks like he's trying to attack, and Naoya just quickly cuts off his arm. Tells him that fighting back is pointless, but the swordsman hits a smirk because he wasn't just blindly attacking with the sword. Because of his heightened senses, he knows where Maki is. So he was really throwing her the sword, and she grabs it and stabs him through the back. We learn that unless a domain has a physical barrier, or she agrees to be in the domain, no domain can trap her inside. No barrier can hold her back. The sword she has is special like Toji's, so she can directly attack your soul with it. Naoya quickly turns his head around and tries to bite her, I guess. She just slits him up like a watermelon, leaves the man looking crazy. They tell us that the domain simply couldn't recognize Maki because she has no cursed energy. After she slices him up, the barrier breaks and everybody falls out. And Maki's recognized by the narrator as a fierce human on par with Toji Zenin.